it started. Exciting times. So, why did the British go to war in the Sudan 1870 to 1898? Well, strictly speaking, the Sudan wasn't part of the British Empire, okay? It was part of the Ottoman Empire. And in fact, the first leader of Egypt and Egypt-Sudan was essentially Muhammad Ali Pasha. Now, he was actually Albanian. He wasn't even Egyptian himself, all right? But he rose the rank of Pasha and became the self-declared Khedive. Now, that's a really important word. Basically means leader, okay, of Egypt and the Sudan. Now, Egypt and the Sudan are two different countries today, but they were kind of grouped together, okay? They kind of grouped together at this time, so it's called Egypt-Sudan. All right, there you go. There you go. That's what the British did, all right? Now, we know from last lesson, okay, with the building of the Suez Canal, that Egypt and Sudan's geopolitical significance vastly increased, okay, because of the building the Suez Canal. Now, it had slightly increased before because of the American Civil War, okay, and Britain had decided to get cotton from there. So that's where an organic trade interest from the British first increased in Egypt, okay. But with the creation of the Suez Canal in 1869, it becomes a vastly more important country because the Suez Canal, it was the artery of the British Empire. 90% of the world's oil imports went through there. It took, I think, 8,000 miles off the journey to India, which was the jewel in the crown. So we cannot underestimate the vital significance of the Suez Canal. However, and there always is a however in history, isn't there? Okay, Egypt-Sudan becomes a debtor nation. Now, you've got to understand something. When you become a debtor nation, when a country becomes a debtor nation, it no longer has any sense of power. Okay, it is essentially accountable to another power. So because Egypt becomes so indebted to European powers, Britain being one of them, they can no longer rule their own affairs. Now, this happens the world over today. Many countries are in debt to America, and America has a massive say and influence over those countries. Okay, so it's better to be a creditor nation than a debtor nation. Now, in 1882, Tufik Pasha, or the Khedive, okay, of Egypt at that time, he invited the British to invade. Now, your ears prick up at that. I know, very exciting information. Okay, why would a leader of a country invite the British Empire to invade or to restore order? Okay, there were forces that were essentially against his rule, and they wanted him out. So the British went there and restored rule and made sure, absolutely ensure, that those debts were paid. Now, a different rebellion also struck up, and this is why it's called the Mahdist War. Now, this is one of the main characters here. It's named after him. His name is Muhammad Ahmed bin Abd Allah. Okay, all right. So he is a self-declared Mahdi. So he declares himself as the as the Islamic Messiah. He had a gap on his teeth, and he had a mole on his cheek, as was prophesied that the Messiah would look like. And he genuinely said he was. Okay. So what he expected to do in his lifetime was take over the whole world. First, he would take over the Islamic world, and then he would dominate the entire world with Islam. Okay, and the whole world would be one giant caliphate, and he would be in charge of it. Okay, that was his expectation, that everyone would bow down to him. All right. Now, this revolt in the Sudan culminated in the fall of Khartoum, which is an integral, important, huge city in Sudan. And the British leader there, okay, Charles Gordon, was killed in a Christ-like way, okay? He sacrificed himself. He could have left. He could have left Sudan, but he said that he owed the people too much. So was he a hero? I'll leave that for you to decide, okay? But he certainly saw himself as a martyr, okay? Now, the British Empire obviously didn't like being defeated, but it took a long time to win this war. As you see, it stretches on from 1870 to 1898, okay? And a very famous leader, okay, Lord Kitchener, who's on the British World War I videos of, I want you. Like, you know, they've got the American one with Uncle Sam, I want you, okay? Lord Kitchener goes there, and he leads military campaigns, and he wins a very important battle called the Battle of Omdurman, which is like the near final battle. And essentially, the British reassert their control in the Sudan. Okay, now this is very important, and the British have a long and enduring role in Egypt, which then strikes in continuity from this point until 1956. Okay, with the Suez Canal crisis. So this British Sudan War, this Mahdist War, is a consolidation period, okay, of Egypt, Sudan, and it has great significance and great consequences for the African continent, because after this point, the vision of Africa is very much from Cape Town to Cairo, okay? And that is the end of that video.